Hello everyone who somehow stumbled here. Welcome not only to the video but to this channel as well. I am the one and only Marcel from Michelle and I'll be your host for today. Our topic will be a game that's as little known as I am. Don't worry though, it's not what you're currently seeing on screen. I needed a way to keep the spoilers away. I'm not gonna sit here and clickbait you saying escape and get eaten by Grandma Obby. It's the best thing you'll ever play. Speaking of playing, what are we gonna play today? Well, it's an extraction shooter where you control a robot in a post-apocalyptic world, scavenging items and recycling them into new equipment or body parts. Well, what are we waiting for? What's the name of this thing? Oh, I bet it's something cool like Recycling Squad, focusing on the main things that you need to do in the game. Or maybe it's something like New Beginnings, referring to the state of the world in its post-apocalyptic state. Or maybe it's something like Metal Heart, going more symbolic with it, saying how robots are the only life form out there. Trash game. It it's called Trash game. Okay, let me talk about this first. It goes without saying that marketing is extremely important if you want your game to grow big, right? Well, naming your game like this is extremely bad for your marketing. Another YouTuber called Eclipse, who you might know because he has a few more subscribers than this channel, has talked about another anomaly like this called Pizza Game. If you didn't know, which I don't blame you for not knowing, Pizza Game not only has not a single thing to do with pizza, but it is also extremely well made. That game is a roguelike FPS shooter of insane quality, and they just doomed it to obscurity by calling it goddamn pizza game. Trash game is just like that because this thing is insanely high quality for Roblox, but it's even worse in that department because this one can actually be understood as the game is trash, and people will be like, why would I want to play an unpopular game that even the dev called trash? Or why would I want to play a game about trash? I'm saying this right now. Stop naming your games like this. It just kills all of your marketing. Like, imagine for a second that Pressure, one of, if not the best games on Roblox in terms of quality, was called something like Water Game. Like, how stupid would that be? Well, knowing the Pressure devs, they might actually change it to that for like April Fools or something. And that's another point too. You can't tell me, oh, they chose it and they have no choice but to stick with it now, because that's just not true. You can change your game's name to anything at any time. You might think that the current name sounds funny, but killing your marketing for a few giggles at the start is not worth it, man. I beg all of you to never name your games like this. Okay, but that's enough about stupid names. Why do I think this game is so good? How does it play? The game starts out and instantly you can see that this thing isn't just some random game. You have fully modeled robot players running around, and if you're lucky enough to not land a server with the interaction of a ghost town, you'll hear that every robot actually makes noise when it talks. They have different voice lines, or I guess you could call them just noises, for talking and even for laughing. Like, it'll literally see if you say stuff like LOL or haha in the chat, and it'll play a laughing voice line. Like, I haven't even started moving yet, and you can tell that this game is just gonna ooze passion and personality out of it. You can usually tell a game is good when you literally can't tell it's Roblox until you look top left. Once little Timmy finally loads and can play on his outdated phone, he will find himself in the safe house, a place where players can't hurt each other, used for trading, chilling, selling, or spawn camping if you're that kind of person. In here the game gives you the tutorial, teaching you how to move, loot containers, what robobucks are, and how to recycle and equip new parts. You have no idea how hard it is to not call robobucks robux and create confusion. It also shows your hideout, but we'll get back to that later. After you're done with the tutorial, you're free to step outside and explore, since the game disables your PvP for 40 minutes so you can get used to everything first and not get bullied by bigger robots. It is an insanely good addition, and it shows the devs really put a lot of thought behind what they did. I did, however, instantly turn it off when I started playing for my first time because mama didn't raise no coward. This game isn't a typical extraction shooter where you loot and escape with guns and other things. Here you loot garbage left from the humans, like basketballs, clothes, bottles, and bags of chips for the most basic things, and Wi-Fi routers, paper shredders, car batteries, and radios for the best stuff. Each item has rarities, going from trash all the way up to legendary, and the rarer it is, the less likely it is to drop from containers. You can find loot outside, but most of it is found inside buildings. Once you find an unlocked building and go inside, your robot scans the place and tells you the percentage of loot there is inside, so you know not to waste your time with empty buildings. You may also notice that buildings also have difficulties on them. That difficulty lets you get the idea of the danger inside, because there can be different turrets and NPC bots that all want to destroy you for some reason. In this game, the only way to respond to violence is more violence. You can use the free plunger launcher from the tutorial to quickly dispatch of any turrets by carefully peeking corners, because everyone knows that a high velocity toilet utility item is a lot deadlier than 50 caliber bullets. Each building you go in can have different loot, so it's actually useful to know what drops where, so you can decide if you want to go to the music studio for instruments or if you want to go to the mechanics shop for tools and electric equipment. All the containers you loot only have a few set items they can spawn, so it's best to know which place has most of them. The game kindly provides a journal where you can find every item, container, material, and place you've ever come in contact with. You can't place waypoints to guide yourself or anything, all you have is a map, but honestly the map just looks a lot bigger than it is. If you play for a little bit you will memorize where each building is. The better loot is usually deeper in buildings, like at the entrance you can only find cabinets and trash cans, but at the very back of the building you can find stuff like safes, weapon crates, and part crates. After you've explored a few buildings and stuffed your face with loot like the greedy little robot you are, you may notice that you're getting a bit slower. That is because you have a weight limit, and if you are carrying more than you can handle, you'll start getting slower and slower the further you go beyond your limit. You don't want to push it, trust me. I looted the laboratory once and I was moving at a millimeter per second. Thank God that place requires rare keycards if anyone wants to go in. Luckily, to combat the walk back to the safe house that would have probably taken me 2 hours, you can just go outside, leave the game, and join back to find yourself in a safe house with all of your loot. After you've looted and returned to the safe house, you have three options. You can sell your items for Robux at the trader, recycle them for materials, or take them to the hideout. You can choose what to do with each item individually, so don't worry about dumping them all in one place by accident. You also have a free recycler in your hideout, so you can recycle there if you suddenly change your mind about needing to keep an item or not. Speaking of, the hideout is your own personal little base to which you can get by talking to Cold Diesel in the safe house. You can fill it with chests and machines that can convert your materials like metal presses, wood cutters, computers, and so on. For the fancy droids, you can even change and color your walls, and for the hoarders, you can expand it for a bunch of Robobucks. Here is where you can deposit all the stuff you found and convert it into more stuff at a workbench. It is for this reason very useful to sometimes keep the items you find instead of recycling them. I really like that the game can reward creativity. Some people can look at a body spray can and just recycle it for metal scrap thinking it's useless, but for the more creative and crafty out there that have kept it, boom, flamethrower baby! You might wonder why you'd ever recycle instead of just keeping everything, and that is because the chests can only hold a certain amount of weight in them. For example, a frying pan is very common to find, but it's also quite heavy, so you can recycle it for metal scraps to save a bit of weight. You also get this free desk here which is used to customize your base. You can move your things around, rotate them, you can even remove some walls, goddammit. Don't worry about removing stuff though, because any hideout item will always be safely kept in this desk menu if you ever need it. I crafted like a bunch of Christmas trees thinking I could trade them and now I'm stuck with them forever. Damned be my capitalist mindset. Let's get into the workbench a bit more. This thing is used to craft most things in the game. You can make yourself new body parts, other utility items to work on, better workbenches, decoration, you name it. I think it's a good time to mention that I'm a huge robot nerd. I love all things robots and it's one of the reasons I like this game. So I find it extremely cool that it uses this to its advantage to differentiate between other extraction shooters. Yeah, sure, you can have a basic arm and hold pistols, knives and other things to swing and shoot, but most of the fun is making new parts and attaching them directly to you. You can make heads with different abilities. You can make legs and torsos that give and take away different stats, and most of the heat you'll be packing goes onto your arms. You can attach most of your offense where your arms are, and each new thing to craft is so creative and a joy to discover. Stuff like the pencil minigun, the water jet, the leaf blower shotgun, the saw blade launcher, it's all so creative and fun to mess around with. Some arms are mostly for utility. You can deal damage with them, but if you ever try to do melee combat in this game, you're basically giving yourself a death sentence. It's literally like bringing a knife to a gunfight. Back on their utility, you may see metal rods and sheets, discarded tires, wood pallets, and bricks all around the outside, but you can't do anything with them at the start. These can be collected with the utility arms. You can make the woodcutter arm to break the pellets and get wood scrap, you can make the vacuum arm to break the tires and get rubber, and so on. It is very useful if you want to get materials fast. I bought a heavy blowtorch arm from the shop once and it got me hundreds of metal scrap. The economy is not all there yet, so I managed to trade about 50 metal scraps and an epic item for a legendary item I really needed for building a better workbench. It was but a dent in my savings. I should also mention that body parts and things you can hold in your hand have tiers. There's 4 tiers going in the order of handmade, refurbished, factory, and mastercrafted. The better a tier is, the more damage and durability the part has, or it gives better stat boosts. You can unlock these tiers when you make better workbenches. I really quick wanted to mention some miscellaneous things I had nowhere else to fit in. One, I mentioned that the merchant bot can also sell stuff, not just buy it. It's usually not worth it. Like this man would literally sell an empty plastic bottle for 3 Robobucks. But some things are really worth it, like the heavy blowtorch arm I mentioned earlier. If you play for a while and you start to have your chest overflowing with materials, you can say, hey, I have too much plastic. And you can start selling all the useless trash that gives you plastic, like bags of chips and water bottles. You can also always sell any clothes you find because they're only useful if you care about your base decorations. If you do that for a bit, you'll start raking in cash. 2. If you want to give your robot more personality, you can craft a painting station and color any part you have by using the spray paint cans you find around. 3. Make sure you check all these menus for a bit. They have useful things like daily Robobucks rewards, keybinds, a whitelist to your hideout, and the journal and map we talked about. 4. If you ever die, you'll drop half of your stuff and a part. Said part will also get more damaged. If a part durability reaches 0, it gets destroyed for good. If you die in a building, make sure you remember where it was so you can run there and get your stuff back. If you die in PvP, the stuff is gone, man. They stole it all. Like, I'm sorry to tell you the harsh reality. PvP is also kinda weird. Maybe I just suck at it and need more practice, but it just feels like a struggle for our lives from both of us when we fight instead of a display of skill. Some weapons are also impossible to aim, even with the aim assist the game provides. Like, yeah, the water jet can deal devastating damage at the cost of big energy, but who the hell can aim this thing in the first place to deal that damage? 5. Lastly, the developers really care about this game, even with the small audience they have. They really put a lot of care behind this game, and they keep updating it. For a while, I was kind of bummed out that there was no way to fix your parts and replenish their durability, basically making any spray paint useless since it'll break eventually. But one day I logged in and boom, repair station where you can fix parts for Roblox. They don't even care about profit either. There's like one game pass you can buy to progress a bit faster and then the rest are purely cosmetic. That's how you know that these guys came here to make a game and I'll be damned if they didn't succeed. Sadly, just like with any game ever, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are some moldy spots here and there. There's also some things I'd personally like to see changed, but they aren't glitches or problems, so I'll give my opinions on how to change them in case the devs get any inspiration from it. One of the main complaints I have is that the weight system is completely messed up for some items. Like a ball is zero point 0.5 kilos, and when I make it into rubber, it's 1 kilogram worth of rubber. You could say, oh, it's lighter in ball form because of the air that's in it, but like look at this crap. A clock is zero point 0.2 kilograms and I recycle it into parts worth 2 kilograms and scrap worth zero point 0.5 kilograms. I somehow have less of the clock and end up with 2.3 more kilograms. In the PvP side of things, you do need to wait a second before entering a building if you just left it, but the time is so small. You can literally go back in and out if a player is chasing you, and the person who wins the annoying cat and mouse game is the one with a better device to play on. Don't get me wrong, I did this too, but it doesn't really feel like a victory either. It just feels like I'm too scared and I can shamelessly cheese the fight if I want to. I just want to say real quick that in the original script I wrote bad total, and I have no idea what the hell I wanted to say. Make of that what you will. In some buildings, you need a utility arm or you're not getting the best loot. It directly contradicts the loot scanning that saves time by making it waste your time instead when you realize, oh cool, I'm not getting that weapon crate because there's a wall that I have to break with a jackhammer. There's a lot of buildings like this, and some are easy to memorize, like the wall in the police station and the floorboards in Granny's Cafe, but some other ones are just random buildings that don't stand out in any way. And you get all the loot at the start and then you realize, oh cool, I needed a blowtorch for the middle barricade, time to leave. It doesn't need to be changed, but I like a warning at least before you enter. Like next to the difficulty it says jackhammer recommended or blowtorch recommended, so you know if you need a specific item to finish the house and get the big loot. Another problem is that when you actually get the loot, it has a small chance to glitch through walls and fall somewhere. If you kill a player near a wall, the loot always drops in a circle, so half of the loot will always be lost. Even when just looting, there is a small chance the stuff just falls the wrong way and ends up behind the wall and you can't reach it anymore. I'm not sure if this is a visual glitch or not, but some things just don't get better when you upgrade their quality. For example, the pistol. It gets more expensive to craft with each tier, yet it changes nothing about it, and that's kind of weird since the Mastercraft tier asks for literal bars of gold. Like, I'm good, bro. At that price, I might as well just spray paint it yellow. There were some other specific items that did this, but I forgot which ones they were. There's also the fact that the journal shows you tiers you can't craft for items, and the workbench does that too. I don't mean you can't craft as in you haven't unlocked it yet. I mean the tier is literally not in the game. This one isn't that big of a deal, I just thought it's a little silly. The price of seeds is straight up wrong in the shop. It asks for 15 Robobucks, but it only takes 2. There is a glitch with the plunger crossbow where it starts draining your stamina infinitely. You can sometimes fix it by charging yourself for half a second, but it's really bad if people don't know how to fix it properly and they never have stamina again. I don't know if this was fixed, but it's really something to look out for. I do wish there was a way to tell if you need items or not. Like, I don't think you can get microwaves anywhere, but if a new player bought and recycled it, they'd be kinda disappointed when they learn it's used to craft one of the most overpowered weapons in the game. It would be cool to let people see all the crafting recipes, but not show them what they craft unless they have good enough workbenches. Like they can see they need 3 golf clubs, a propane, some metal and some cardboard to make something, they just aren't shown that it makes the golf club launcher until they have a good enough workbench for it. I think this game can't really make any use of any melee weapon. It's so hard to fight players with them since everyone has guns, it's tedious to kill turrets with them, and I imagine you can deal some damage to hostile NPCs, but I don't think it still compares to some blast from the shotgun or water jet. Yeah, you can hit people with ranged weapons and slow them down to get them into melee range, but at that point you just have to hit them so much you might as well just kill them with a ranged weapon, man. It just ain't worth it. Instead, I think all the melee weapons should be part of a recipe. Like, yeah, you could use the knife, or you could craft it into a knife launcher, or even better, a throwable knife saw, like the one in Resident Evil 7. I'm not sure what creative range weapons you can craft with the rusty pipe, but then again, I'm not sure why you'd craft the rusty pipe in the first place. The area that's most gray for me is the wait times. Some wait times are small, like 10 seconds for recycling, and they really do help you in case you accidentally recycled something and you want to cancel it. But others are just straight up insane, bro. Like, look at this 96 hours for the special code. Yeah, I get that the timer still runs even when you aren't playing the game, but that still feels kinda excessive. The worst part is that I don't even know how to balance this without saying just remove the crafting times outright. Without these times, you progress a lot faster, and there's only 4 tiers to craft and 3 workbenches needed to get to those tiers. It's not Binding of Isaac level of content, but honestly I don't think it needs to be. You still need to scavenge to get to the master crafted workbench in the first place, And even after you get there, if you spend all of your time fighting because you have everything in the game, you still need to maintain a stable source of Robobucks to fix your parts, or you'll need to scavenge more items to outright make new parts. Also, as a last thing I'd like to suggest, I think it would be cooler if all the torsos and legs did something different, much like the heads. I think you should keep it as self-affecting abilities though, since I just said it's not a good idea to get close to people. You can do stuff like cool yourself off with the mini fridge torso and instantly get your stamina back, and get 3 seconds of aimbot with a file cabinet, signifying how calculated your shots are. I'm totally fine with some torsos having no abilities and instead they just give a lot of stats while taking away others, like the reinforced torso, but it would be a lot more interesting if it wasn't all of them that did that. As for the legs, I think it would be really cool if all of them changed how you control. Like the unicycle, we're gradually catching speed and having a higher speed limit, but you have to be careful while turning or you'll fall over, instantly setting your speed to zero. The runner legs having basic responsive controls. The hoverboard legs moving properly back and forth with a bit of slide, but when you have to turn, you actually have to do a circle like a real hoverboard. There's a lot of potential with all the creative legs that the devs implemented. My final conclusion is that I think this game is definitely worth playing. The devs put so much love and care into it, and they have a good game because of their effort. And you don't usually see this on Roblox. There's no intrusive game passes, no annoying features, no stupid mechanics demanding you grind your soul out on it forever. It's just you, your robot, and a broken world waiting to be explored. So get out there, see what you can scavenge, and never, ever stop improving with your equipment. Thank you all for watching my first video and opening to the channel, hoping there'll be more where this one came from. If you have games you'd like an opinion on, do leave them in the comments and I'll be more than happy to take a look at them too. That's enough said from me for now. I've been Marcel from Michelle. For the love of God, change the name of this game and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.